The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, Brecon Farms, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Stonewall Stud, the clubs Alexandria Park, Cambridge, Addington and Ashburton, Garrard's Horse and Hound, and IRT. It's your horse and our passion. Hi everyone, welcome into another edition of Your Box Seat, and of course a very big thanks to our stable of sponsors getting behind us, so please get behind them. Michael Guerin, we're inside a couple of weeks out from the IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup. We know how important the Ashburton Flying Stakes is, and with lather up we'll have a look at that in a moment, but gee, it's getting close.
It is, Greg, and I tell you what, I think we've seen a change of mindset, not only for the punters but for the trainers and drivers, because we sort of thought Copy That was there. He was maybe as good as these All-Stars horses, but we know when you get to Ashburton, the All-Stars put the foot down as they have for the last 6 or 7 years. They dominate, they go on to win the Cup, and everything changes. Well, that was the script, Gregory. The script didn't quite work out as we thought it might, and it produced a 25.2 last 400 metres. Greg, my mindset has changed heading toward the Cup, because I'm not sure if the horse we're about to see leads, they can beat him at Addington in under 2 weeks' time. Yeah,
going to be very interesting. Let's go back to that. As we do, news out of Addington Raceway, that IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup Day is sold out. Yes, if you haven't purchased a ticket, you won't be there. No gate sales. But let's go back to Ashburton from Monday. Take in the lather up Ashburton Flying Stakes. Get Matthew Cross to bring them home and hear from successful driver Blair Orange.
From Ashley Locas. Still Copy That leads a half. Self-Assured trying. Spankham came up 3 deep. It's the North Islander though. Copy That leading the Flying Stakes field. 2 lengths on Self-Assured. Spankham can't get them. It's Copy That though, and Blair Orange in the lather up Flying Stakes. He is too good. Copy That won it. Beat Self-Assured. Third in Spankham. Fourth, I think, the Fixer. Then Ashley Locas, Vintage Cheddar, Mark Shard and Dad and Dave.
Well, there's a first, a win in the Flying Stakes.
Yeah, they're not easy to get, Greg, so yeah, happy to tick that one off.
Talk us through the run. You got things pretty much your own way, but he made his own luck.
Yeah, he stepped away good enough, but, you know, just not quite quick enough, and helped was obviously Self-Assured off the unruly, and Spankham skipped away a bit early, so, you know, put us in front of them early, and, you know, always had to make a move before they did to stay in front, so, you know, we got the lead easy enough, and, you know, got up my own way from there, and we buzzed a half in a good quarter.
You hadn't had a steer on him for a wee while. I'm picking it's pretty big buzz even doing that.
Yeah, look, he felt tremendous, Greg. Even at the furlong, when I just sort of chirped him a little bit, he felt really strong right to the line and after it. So, you know, all's going well, looking forward.
The son of American Ideal there, Michael, win number 14 in his career. I'm starting to think that which one of the big 3 or 4, and I put Classy Brigade in that category as well, that finds the front first in the IRT New Zealand Cup instantly becomes the horse to beat. For you?
Look, I think Self-Assured's the horse who can't do that. So the long-time favourite who just about 6 weeks ago, Greg, we sort of thought, well, he'll probably win the Cup. He's the horse who's now on the back foot, not because of ability, and sure, he can clearly still win the Cup, but he's the horse who may have to do it coming around a whole bunch of horses. The Copy That I wasn't sure, Greg, was mature enough and a proper 2-mile horse, and we still don't know the answer to that. But it may not be a punishing 2-mile Cup this year, because outside Classy Brigade, I don't see many of those really hard-running horses, and the All-Stars don't have big enough numbers to lead a mid-race attack. Spankham and Self-Assured are both winning chances, but you can't see them getting outside potentially a Classy Bromac or a Copy That and roughing them up. Greg, he's just too fast for most of these horses. Now, he's not too fast for Self-Assured, but I think he's too fast for Spankham. If he gets some sort of run, because Spankham the other day had every chance to make ground on him, and I know it was 25-2, but he's not going to come round this horse and beat him unless Copy That doesn't stay. So I know lots of things can happen in Cups, and he's about a 66% chance of drawing the front line, maybe slightly better. But if his manners stick together, if he handles Addington, which he has in the past, Greg, if he leads, I don't think they'll beat him in the Cup. Now, I'm not saying that he's just a good thing, because he's not, because Self-Assured might still be a better horse. Spankham's a very professional horse, but And what I saw the other day, Greg, there was no tempo mid-race, but there may not be a searing 352, 353 tempo in this year's Cup either. He's a horse who proved to me the other day, Gregory, that he can win the New Zealand Cup, whereas previously he had proven to me he was a very, very good horse. But I hadn't seen enough to suggest he could win the Cup. A lot of things changed for me on Monday because he was slightly better than Self Assured, but he clearly outpointed the other horses in the race.
He did. Let's hear from the beaten drivers and talk more on the other side. That was a terrific Cup trial.
Yeah, it was good, Greg. Yeah, he didn't make ground on the other horse, but didn't lose any, and the sectional was unbelievable.
What about the start? He seemed to take one awkward step, but after that he was good.
Yeah, he caught it quickly. Just a little fractious, but otherwise, he was pretty good.
All right, the big question is, do you leave him there on the unruly, or do you just think about it over the next few days?
Yeah, I think I'll think about it a little bit anyway, and have a chat to Jean, see what her preference is. But if he'd been perfect today, I probably wouldn't hesitate, but he was just that little bit fractious.
In terms of a Cup preparation, it's been pretty solid though, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, he's had a good prep, and look, he's done well all the way through, so it's not he hasn't been over-raced or anything. He's still well within himself.
Another important step.
Yeah, Greg, I thought he was good. Just probably at face value at first I was a little bit disappointed, but then when you hear the sections and 25-1, you just can't make ground. Probably just a little bit worried at the start. He normally steps really good. Sort of almost like he half-knuckled over behind, so that's not normally him. So just hope Cup Day, we can get away a bit better than that.
All right, we'll see him at the Cup trial and we'll get his confidence levels back up, I guess, there.
Well, most definitely, Greg, I hope so. He's blew up big and fat over the back again, so another run will bring him on good. And just hope Cup Day, it's a bit more genuine run race and not just a dash home. But all credit to the winner, he was too good.
Well, you've got to be wrapped with that.
Absolutely. The way he hit the line was pretty impressive.
Your training career's on a pretty big upward spiral. First starter for you in an IRT New Zealand Cup. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's a dream come true, really, mate. It's one of those races you watch as a kid, so to finally get one in, it's a big thrill.
Now, he'll be clearly on the improve, so that's a great pointer towards his chances in the race.
Well, I think so. It's only really a second run back, so we'll go to the Cup trial and have a black round there, and that should top him off nicely for the 10th.
Your first steer behind him in a while, how do you feel?
Yeah, that's right, Greg. Obviously been a while between drinks, but great to have him back. He felt super. He pinged away good from the stand like he can. He's just a nice, wee, cool horse to drive. So I'm sure he'll improve on the run. He might have just peaked on it inside the 100, but like you say, in those sectionals, he's probably entitled to be.
Well, 4 or 5 lengths off the speed when they're going that quickly is not ideal.
No, it's not. It's hard ground to make up. And you can tell they're really motoring out there. So, hey, look, I was happy enough. It was just a nice little hit out for him before he goes to the Cup. So, hope for a bit better for then and see how we go.
Will we see him in the Cup trial?
Yeah, look, he probably will, Greg. Yeah, he'll have another little run along there and should just top him off nicely, hopefully.
Well, Michael, the most significant piece out of the beaten drivers there was that Self Assured pretty much has to stay on the unruly. I don't think the stewards had let him come off there anyway. He hasn't proven that he would just step away regardless of barrier draw. But I have one question for you. This far out from the Cup, who's your top tip?
As you know, I'm a person who bets price dependent, so I don't really care too much about who my top tip is. I care about what I can bet into.
But I do, so
Yep.
Tell me.
Copy that is at the moment because if everybody steps away evenly, which is all we can expect and hope for, is he could settle 8 lengths in front of Self Assured. Now, Self Assured, I think, is maybe the best horse in the race, but I wouldn't be surprised if we come out of this Cup and copy that one by 3 lengths. If he leads, and it doesn't have to lead, of course, he could be just as potent coming from off the speed. There is that concern, Gregory, and it's not a huge concern, but that concern about the 2 miles because a lot of good horses haven't run 2 miles at their first trip. I think there's other things at play here. He might be just coming to the stage where he develops into a very, very good horse. And he might also, Greg, be the horse which American Ideals needed in this country. He's an older horse now, American Ideal. He's about 19 years old, so it's not going to be commercially that big a deal for him. But he's been a great stallion. And if you said to most people, who's the best American Ideal in New Zealand, they probably couldn't answer the question because most of his greatness has been overseas. It's been in Australia where he's been the most popular. Copy that could be the horse who in 10 or 15 years' time we say, well, American Ideal left that. So whether he develops into that, I'm not sure, Gregory, but he's my top tip in the Cup at the moment because he's getting a start over Self Assured. That could change after the barrier draw next Wednesday. Who's yours?
No, I'm still with Spankham. I don't totally concur with you that he should have been able to come out Spankham and make ground on that speed, because he showed us at Methven that he can run home in 55 seconds and come from well off the speed. So I still think he's the horse to beat, Spankham. He's proven at 2 miles. He only just got beaten last year, and we'll have a look at that market shortly around that. We need to look at some other Cup contenders, or in this case, the first video we look at, Michael, is not going to be a Cup contender. I spoke to Brent Mangos and he said, look, we could have paid the late payment of $15,000. It might be a step too far, but he's got a plan to start him in the Auckland Cup, and I think that's a good one on this performance at least.
Yeah, what this video doesn't show is he got back on the inside, and it was a massive winning performance coming around 2 genuine Cup horses in Star Galleria and on the cards. I agree with Mango. Auckland Cup suits better. He's racing really well right-handed. Surprised me how good and how advanced he is. Let's not forget, he is only a 4-year-old, part of a very strong 4-year-old crop. But yes, Gregory, we won't be seeing him at Addington. Will we be seeing this horse?
Yeah, Heisenberg, he's up to 12th in the rankings. Michael, this was his first win since winning at Wyndham back in January. When he's in front, he's hard to beat, as we saw in the age pace last year at Kaikoura. Tango Tara, much better from him, finishing second.
Is he going to go back to the age pace but still a New Zealand Cup, Greg? I thought the age pace at Kaikoura was a perfect race for him. Do you think he'll turn up in the New Zealand Cup?
Yeah, I do. Yep, I think he'll definitely be in there. So both of those are likely to head there, as is this mere Wild Excuse. She's still trying to force her way into the Cup. I think she currently sits about 17th, Michael, and this was a brave performance from her.
Yeah, look, outstanding. It's really hard to sit parked over a mile at Ashburton. That's her outside horses who aren't going to be Cup horses. I think she'll go close to getting into the Cup, although we're starting to run out of horses who are going to pull out of the race. Triple Eight's heading to Kaikoura, so he was one horse I wasn't sure about in the top 15. He's now clearly heading south, so I don't know, Greg. Part of me would like to see her in the Cup because I think it's wonderful to have a mare in the race. It's also really tempting to maybe keep her for other races and maybe mares races. But look, I understand the owner, who you know really well, would love to have a Cup contender, as would most people. So I think she might help make the race, but whether she's a genuine top 5 factor, I don't know.
Yeah, 154.3. Times were excellent at Ashburton, and a big thank you to them once again getting him behind the box seat. Let's have a look at the Cup market, Michael. Is this an overreaction? $2.80 a pair, self-assured, and of course copy that. Bit of a drift there for Spankham. Classy Brigade, who we'll get to see at Kaikoura on Monday. Still about $10 or $11 if you're keen on him.
I'm very good at giving the bookies a hard time for overreacting, but I don't think they have here because nobody's going to want to back anything else in the race. Like, not of the serious punters. The punters are going to be having 1,000 to 5,000 on things. They're not going to come for anything else. There might be some money for Spankham, but Greg, outside those top 4, and to be honest, outside the top 3, because Classy Brigade's not going to cop a lot of win money, anything else in the field could be $20, and that's not being derogative of the Fixer or Ashley Locas or those horses, but people just aren't going to want to back them, Greg. All the coverage is going to be around copy that, self-assured. Again, he's off that, what's basically a handicap. There'll be money for Spankham, there always is. You know, I think the market's close enough to right. I can't see many reasons it's going to move. Maybe the Cup trial and the standing start manners of some of the horses will be crucial. But one of the great stories out of the entire thing, Greg, is the fact it's going to be Ray Green's first Cup starter. American Ideal for Ray Green is proving to be what Bettor's Delight's been for Mark and Natalie. He's been that absolute touchstone sire for him, and Ray's had a remarkable time with the American Ideals. So I would like to see Ray Green win a New Zealand Cup. At the age of 75, Greg, that's what I would like to see, and that's what I sort of hope we're talking about in a couple of weeks. And that's not being derogatory, of course, to anybody else involved, but he's been a real gentleman of harness racing for a long time. Quite remarkable to think about having your first New Zealand Cup starter at the age of 75. Yeah,
it is. It's a great story, and he's a great man. He's always terrific with the media. It is the Alabar Kaikoura Cup on Monday. Unfortunately, Michael, the fields aren't out when we record this show, but we do have the nominations. I think they're up to about 52 of these cups, and we've seen a little bit of movement in terms of horses going here in the last 10 years or so and going on and winning the Cup, and Lazarus is a good example, Arden Rooney another. This year it's a decent field, decent numbers there, only 2 returning Chicken, who was 8th last year, and Nandolo, who was 5th. And of course, 3 returning. Classy Brigade will be there, and he took it out last year. Pre the barrier draw, who would you be putting your wedge on?
100% Classy Brigade. He's just beautifully suited to Kaikoura. He steps quickly. He's a horse who loves to be up on the speed, which is Kaikoura to a T. He's got so much respect now, Greg. I think he probably gets the lead off most of these because they don't want to get a headache before the Cup. Yeah, this is his race track all day long. I'm sort of surprised actually that they're taking both him and Sunday Sun there. Clearly they're looking to keep Sunday Sun, who we'll see shortly in the Trot, for the standing start. So they're taking him to Kaikoura. So the Dunn team, I reckon, as they did this time last year, when Robert trained his 1500 career success, I think they're set to dominate on Monday, Greg.
Michael, big day for these horses. On the cards, currently 16th, just outside. 17th, Wild Excuse. If she led in the Cup, she'd be hard to beat there on Monday, and Chicken 18th. So they're the horses that could potentially jump their way into the IRT New Zealand Cup discussion and into the field. Let's have a look at the aged pace, Michael, because again, this is proving to be an excellent guide for races going forward. It's the 16th running of the aged pace, and Heisenberg gets a chance in that. Franco Niven, a big strong team for Robert Dunn with the likes of Above and Beyond as well. I'm really keen on one, and you're going to hear what my best bet is later in the program. His name's Bad to the Bone. You've seen more of him than I have, but I like the way he trialled behind 888. His 2 runs this time back have been very good. He stepped away in that trial and behind 888 from the inside draw nicely. Barry Purden's a master. He and Scott Phelan bring him to Kaikoura. I reckon he'll be hard to beat.
Yeah, and he had a really hard, strenuous campaign last year, which I think is going to stand by the horse as he works his way towards open class. I agree with you, he'll be hard to beat. It's always been a tricky race, the Sales Series race, because if you get even one spot too far back, it's been incredibly hard to win. Doesn't have a dominant favourite this year, which is good. It doesn't have one of those horses which is thrown in. So, look, I'm not disagreeing with you on Bad to the Bone. I haven't seen a lot of him from behind the tapes, which is going to be crucial because Kaikoura is such an unusual standing start point. But yeah, it's always a great race, Greg, but it's a race I always want to be on the leader, although, to be perfectly honest, that's most races at Kaikoura, apart from the South Bay Trotters Cup coming up on Monday.
Yeah, the likes of Arden Rooney won it in 2013. A couple of others that have gone on and done some pretty good stuff. The likes of Henry Hubert and, of course, Heisenberg. So Robert Dunn looking for 3 on the bounce there. What about the Majestic Sun South Bay Trotters Cup? This has only been in vogue for about 20-odd years, but I Can Do's it won it 3 times, Michael. Let's have a look at the nominations for the Trot this year, and all of them are contenders for the Majestic Sun Dominion. Again, the likes of Midnight Dash, Majestic Lavros, 21st and 22nd at order of entry. This is their chance to leapfrog their way into the big one on Showday. But they'll all be chasing Sunday Sun, or maybe he's chasing them this time. He whips around them, and what I like about him at Kaikoura is the fact he trots the bends so well, and it's not very well banked, as you well know. So I think it's a smart move by the Dunn camp to stick to standing starts, miss Ashburton, and he's a great chance of winning this.
Look, I don't usually like backing horses off handicaps at Kaikoura, but it won't matter for him as long as he does things right. So you're only betting on one thing here. Will he get things right, and will he behave himself and trot to his maximum? Because if he does, he'll win. He'll just go straight from last-ish to first-ish in the space of the back straight at Kaikoura if they need to do that. You're right, he's not a big horse. He should skip around the bends pretty well. That's no disrespect to the likes of Midnight Dash and Majestic Lavros and some pretty good horses, but he's still the best trotter in the country, Greg. Whether Bolt for Brilliance overtakes him at some stage between now and Christmas, I'm not sure, but he's the favourite to win everything until he stops winning, as far as I'm concerned. And it doesn't look a big field. Spoke to Ricky Elchin about Tough Monarch. The horses now in the country. They are still not entirely sure they'll head to Kaikoura, so he might head there. I think they're looking for a race, or he could potentially go to the Cup trials next week. But Habibi Inter, Greg, I see he was scratched last week from Ashburton. Did you get a chance to catch up on what the story was there?
No, I didn't actually, but we will be able to get some
news. It can't be too bad because he's on to Kaikoura.
We'll bank something out on Twitter, on our Twitter account from Paul Nairn, so that you know as well as we do. And of course, he won the race last year, Michael, and then went on and won the Dominion. So yep, it can be a wonderful form guide. Back to the New Zealand Cup as we go to our first break. Robin's Playboy, big excitement for the Wilson ambitions, of course, to have a runner in the Cup again. And yeah, this horse was way too good last time. This was in the Tuapeka Cup, where he dominated, and here is his winning performance as we go to a quick break.
Inside, Memphis, Tennessee up the centre, then Spirit of St. Louis, but it's the beast from the east, and he'll win the Tuapeka Cup. The Dan Cummings Memorial Tuapeka Cup goes to Robin's Playboy.
Welcome back into your box seat. Let's go back to Alexandria Park with Brecon Farms. We're looking for the trotting performance of the week. A couple of weeks ago, there was a great battle. Here's the start of the race and the most crucial part. Cracker Hill gets off very nicely, as does Midnight Dash. Tony Hurley, he hasn't driven 3,500 winners and not had a decent race plan for many of those. He got one here. He squeezes his way into the trail, and effectively that was the winning of the race. Let's get Aaron White to bring them home and hear from the master horseman on the other side as we see that inner tube dangling around the inside tyre. Let's see if he was able to pick them up in sensational time.
Cracker Hill now, a great tussle, 100 to go, but Bolt for Brilliance asserting his superiority. Cracker Hill tries to kick back, but Bolt for Brilliance too good for Cracker Hill. Midnight Dash third.
It seems, Tony, every week there's a different amazing performance from Bolt for Brilliance. 54.6 his last 800 metres there.
Yeah, no, it was a great run. Like, they both went great. Cracker Hill win a great race in front of us too. So, yeah, but like you say, 54 something half, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
And with the inner tube coming out of the sulky tyre, I know this tyre started to go flat not long after the start. The inner tube may not have wrapped around until about the 800, but it clearly didn't help.
No, it didn't. I just felt it just now. It is jammed up a wee bit, but it's. I was lucky it didn't wrap right up where they can lock right up, and then you've got to come out of the race. So I was lucky there, Mick. But I thought as we left the gate and I could feel it going a bit flat, I thought, well, there's one way you can get beat. You never know in this game, do you?
Did you still think at the 800, with that problem and a very good horse in front of you, you could get past him tonight?
Yeah, like it had it nice up front, obviously, and he's a very fast horse and very smart horse. I was probably lucky I got on his back in the early running, and yeah, and then Bolt was probably, I didn't want to knock him around after he's pulling that wheel, but he was doing it nice at the finish, and yeah.
That's 3 remarkable wins in succession. What's next for him?
He's going to have a couple of weeks off now, Mick, and hopefully be ready for the 31st up here at this stage.
Okay, so 31st of December, National Trot. I take it Australia's not really on the cards until you know more about the quarantine and restrictions.
Exactly, Mick, yeah, no. And probably the following year, hopefully things are better, and we'd love to travel with him more, and if he's racing good and healthy and everything.
You've won 3,500 odd races in your career in New Zealand. Have you ever won a major race with the tyre flat on a horse?
No, I can't recollect. No. And like we say, it was lucky the tube wrapped around, but not bad enough to pull him out of the race. So it was bad enough, so we're glad to get through it.
I know these days it's hard to get you really excited about a horse, but I think you get a pretty special feeling about this horse. Yeah, it has done for a long time, giving you that feeling. But we get plenty of disappointments in this game. But his horse, he just kept stepping up, and he's obviously got a lot of stamina and speed and gait, and yeah. So hopefully he just stays well and sound, and we'll have a lot of fun with him.
And Tony Hurley, well, that's about as excited as he gets, Michael. He was lucky that tube didn't, wrap right around the tyre and make it immobile, if you like. But Cracker Hill was fantastic. Midnight Dash did a lot of good things up there in those couple of races. Quite clearly, Ultimate Stride wasn't as comfortable right-handed, so I'm prepared to forgive him of that. The excitement around these 4-year-olds with the likes of Muscle Mountain added in there means that we're in for a heck of a couple of seasons ahead.
Let's cut to the absolute chase here, because it's easy to have a lot of hyperbole about horses, and times can sometimes be irrelevant, although 54.6 is quite remarkable. As a punter, if somebody had told me during that race, and you could see pretty quickly what had happened, but that it had happened that dramatically, you would have tried to get every cent you'd ever earned in your life on Cracker Hill. Cracker Hill's a very good horse, Gregory. He could win the New Zealand trotting free-for-all. I'm sure he's a better horse than Majestic Man, who we saw winning the mile the other day. So he's in front, and Bolt for Brilliance is behind him with one deflated tyre, which means there's obviously no buoyancy in the tyre to help the horse, and then it wraps around the stays from about the 800. That's staggering. Had I been able to bet during the run, Gregory, I just would have had any cent I could get on Cracker Hill.
Yep.
And that's not being derogatory to Cracker Hill because he's such a wonderful horse. He did nothing wrong. The other horse was remarkable. It's one of the great trotting performances I've seen in the last 5 years in this country. I'm not going to say it's the same as when Lyle Creek came back from America and was weaned off Lasix and won a Rowe Cup. That's a different ball game altogether. But this horse is only 4. In fact, he's probably not even turned 4 really. So what he's capable of, I don't know. I'll be stunned if he holds together if he doesn't win a Rowe Cup. And if he was in the Dominion, Gregory, he would be clear second favourite behind Sunday Sun. I know it's easy to get carried away with horses, but he's got gate speed now. We saw that for the first time. Gee, the world's his oyster. He's a very, very good horse. I don't know where he ends up, but he's going to end up somewhere pretty special. I hope the borders open up so Tony and the owners can take him over to Australia at some stage in the next couple of years, Gregory.
Yeah, I totally agree there. Moving on to another Brecon Farms trotting star. This time it was Majestic Man. We go back to Ashburton on Monday. This is what we thought might happen 3 weeks ago, Michael, when basically Sunday Sun was out of this race. This was the perfect race for Majestic Man. He rolled to the top. He had that mishap with Winterfell alongside him at Addington last week. But this is the real one, and on the back of this, we'll hear from his trainer, Phil Williamson.
Hero, but it's all over. Majestic Man shot away at the 100 metres, put 5 lengths on them. Heavyweight Hero runs into a place from Winterfell. It's all Majestic Man. Majestic Man too good. Beat home Heavyweight Hero 30, the Winterfell or One Apollo. The run from Winterfell very good considering how keen he got early.
Well, the real one's turned up today.
Yeah, he was good today, Greg, for sure, really good. We were expecting him to be hard to beat in this race, probably a fair way out, so it was good to see it come to fruition.
And of course, great to see that mentally, last time, we know he had some issues with Winterfell alongside him and what unfolded in the early part of that race, so it's good to see that hadn't affected him.
Yeah, well, we're kind of using it as an excuse, Greg, but, it isn't ideal when one's crashing around at the gate beside you, so, yeah, we'll say it affected him a bit because he was back on track today for sure.
Time, excellent. A little bit of rain about too. He hasn't just won this race, he's dead set bolted it. He's gone as good as we could hope for. He's a pretty good horse, but you need to be now with the class that's coming through with the 4-year-olds. Yep, you certainly do, Phil. Just on Cup Week, the free-for-all again would seem an ideal target. And have you ruled out the Dominion at this stage?
No, it'll all depend how we come through the race and everything. If he gets a favourable marble in the free-for-all, he must be a great first 4 chance, and if he doesn't have a really tough race, then the Dominion would be something that we'd definitely take our chances.
You've had a great record in this race over the years. You've got yourself another one. Congratulations.
Thanks very much, Greg.
Goes over 300,000, win number 13 for him, Michael as well. That's the right horse, that's the right race for him. The free-for-all will be the same, although he drew the second row last year. Let's have a look at the market for that, Michael. He's only 0.3 of a second outside Mark Coola's race record, and national record for that matter. But the market now for the free-for-all, Michael, Cracker Hill likely to go there, Muscle Mountain 380. There's Habibi Inter at $8.50. Tough Monarch, last year's winner, at $15. It's an interesting old market, this.
Yeah, and very draw dependent. I don't want to back anything in this race coming off the second line, because if Majestic Man draws the front and it leads, hard to beat. If Cracker Hill draws the front and it leads, hard to beat. It all comes down to barrier draws for me, Greg. I think most of those horses will turn up in the race, most of those ones at the top of the market. But I like Majestic Man. He's been a really good horse to me punting over the years, and I like how brave he's been in a whole range of races like an Inter Dominion and a National Trot. But you get the feeling, Greg, these other horses coming through might just edge him for raw class. Whether that's during this Cup Carnival, I'm not sure, but maybe in 3 or 4 months' time. He's a total professional, love him as a horse, willing to forgive the start before, because when we go back over this season, not just the open class trotters, but even the open class paces, every single one of the big guns has had one of those runs where they've been below their best. Not so much Spankham so far, because he's only had the 3 runs, but every other horse in New Zealand who's in the conversations we're having today has had a run so far this campaign where you go, what happened there? And Majestic Man's was 2 starts ago, so that's why he paid a little bit more this week. Temporale, I thought, was the really disappointing horse out of the race, Greg, and he's the one who lost some oomph heading to those races at Addington, because clearly he's better than that. So they've got 2 weeks to turn him around, but they're going to need to turn him around by about 5 or maybe even more lengths.
Yeah, I spoke to Tony Hurley, his former trainer, of course, and he said just didn't trot the bends that well, and he hadn't had a left-handed start for a while. The Dominion market remains the same, $1.95 for Sunday's Sun as we build towards the big one on Showday. We need to go back to Alexandria Park, though, and review some excellent racing there from last Friday night, including the build-up towards the Magnus Benroe. What's Your Secret was too good. Michael here found the front. This was an impressive first-up run at the park.
Yeah, it looked not an overly strong field, to be honest. So, look, she did what she needed to do, and she gets a good draw heading into the Sire Stakes Championship this week. So, look, she's in play now. Put her off the second line, she probably wasn't, but she handled the right-handed, and clearly a happy, healthy horse as the All-Stars look potentially set to dominate the Sire Stakes, although maybe Stephen Reid has something to say about that.
Yeah, he did with this horse. She's No Lady, of course, won the Delightful Lady, made it 3 from 9 in front, dominated from the top end. Better Twist had her chance, but she was very strong, and we'll get to Darling Me in a moment, but she was very good, Michael.
She was, and being able to lead gives her another string to her bow. I thought Better Twist was really, really strong in second place, and in fact probably as good as the winner.
And here is Darling Me. There's Namada in front. Of course, Michael and I with a small share in him. He was pretty brave, but she was simply too good. Off the back of this, we'll hear from Stephen Reid about his couple of winners, including She's No Lady, but Darling Me, too good. She's got a wide draw this week.
Under the ribbon of light at Alexandria Park, and as she did many, many times here, her daughter will do it, Darling Me, to beat Nevada. Third across Typo, and then came Jack Ryan.
Well, that's a satisfying win tonight from She's No Lady.
Yeah, it is, Mick. Look, we have had a big opinion of her for a while. With the one draw tonight, Zach said to me, do you think we've got the speed to lead and do a bit of work? I said, I think we have. And it's panned out pretty good. So onwards and upwards to the final.
She's already the 2-year-old filly of the year. Is she as good now as, say, these nice horses of the All-Stars, or was that because of the draw tonight you were able to beat them?
That's actually a really tricky question. You could say that it was a little bit of a Clayton's 2-year-old filly's year of the award of the year. I think, on what I know of the filly, I think that she is up to them. Admittedly, the draw helps, and we all know what Alexandria Park's like. It's a sectionals track. She got that tonight, but Zach said to me when he came back on her tonight, he said tonight was the first night that she's given me that feel of a good horse. So that's satisfying, because I think he's driven a lot of good horses, and it backs up the judgment that Simon and I both think of her.
It's going to be a tricky long season, because she's technically still racing in the 2-year-old series, then there'll be a 3-year-old series, and then there'll be Oaks races and Breeders' Crowns and a whole lot of stuff. You can't be in them all, Stephen.
No, 100%, and we won't be. I'll have a talk with Andrew about what the plan is, but she'll race in the final next week. She'll go out for, I might be able to squeeze 10 days into her, then she'll come back for December, culminate with racing at the end of December, and then maybe another little break. We're going to have to manage her, obviously, but the big thing to me is that we look after her and that she goes forward later on into the season.
Mr. Fantastic was really good against the older horses tonight. I know he's not in the Sire Stakes, and it would be nice to be in the Sire Stakes, but maybe it's a good thing not going to Addington, because, again, it's a long 3-year-old season.
You're reading my mind, Mick, because that's exactly what I said to the owners the other day. When I found out that he wasn't paid up, everyone was like, oh, he's not paid up, he's not paid up. But at the end of the day, it might be a blessing in disguise. There's plenty of other races. And if we still have the horse, because there are a few sort of offers floating around for him. If we still have him, I think he's the sort of horse that he will go on at 4 and 5 and actually go right through the grades.
Okay, is he for sale?
I don't know. I think it's something that we need to really now sit down. Put it this way, it's very split.
Stephen Reid, not often he sits on the fence, Michael, but I think he might have just then.
Look, horses like him attract big offers, Gregory, and particularly this year because, of course, the Breeders' Crown for 2-year-olds hasn't happened in Australia yet, and all these horses we're looking at are eligible for that. So you could sell a horse in the next 2 weeks and it could go across its 3 here and race at 2. So Mr. Fantastic's a pretty darn good horse. She's No Lady, I think, could win this week, Greg, but it's very draw dependent for her because she's drawn 1 on the second line, and the horse she follows out's quite quick off the gate. But whether for that much money they would want to try and hold the lead with it. Now, it's over a mile. It's Mile Night at Alexandria Park. It's not 1700, so just be careful there, punters. Mile starts pretty close to the bend, so it's not a 1700 where you would think you'll have a bit more time. I'm not sure she'll get the right run to win this, Greg, but I'm really happy for Reid Man. He's had a tough time. He lost his dad recently. He's got 2 really nice horses in the barn, and of course he's got Star Galleria in a race he should win this week too. So, yeah, he's in a good space with a smaller team than usual. What did you make of the race? Because I thought Better Twist might be the best of the All-Star horses, but she's on the second line over a mile. I thought Darling Me probably has enough respect to potentially head forward and maybe get the lead. Yeah, she could, or she could have to sit park. She's $2.30 as we have a look at the market for the Magnus Benroe. $120,000 goes on the line, so $2.30 her, $6 about She's No Lady, Better Twist $3. I think the winner will come out of those 3. Yeah, I'd be happy to be on Darling Me. I think with that experience at Alexandria Park, that will make her very, very hard to beat indeed. Let's move on to the Woodland Stakes, the last couple of heats building towards the big final on Cup Day. A Piece of Lou grabbed win number 1 coming up the passing lane, Michael. This was a nice effort from a horse that got the right run. It was. I'm not sure he'll even turn up at Addington. He's racing this week at Alexandria Park off a second line draw. If he was mine, I wouldn't bother. I don't think he's got any chance of winning the final. I think he's a horse who's maturing and getting better, but you could stay home and race for $15,000 at Alexandria Park, or you can go to Addington and probably race in a race which you can't win, I would have thought, Greg. So, same trainer, very different class of horse, because he's the real deal, this little horse, Gregory. I'm not sure he's as good as Krug, but he's beaten him twice now.
Yeah, he has. Sat on the back of a very rolling It's All About Faith. But this little horse, who they tell me had to have a DNA test, they thought he might have been by Sweet Lou with that big white blaze, dashed up the passing lane, and we hear from winning trainer Ray Green.
American Dealer, they hit the post. American Dealer won it. American Dealer beat It's All About Faith. Krug 3rd, Aladdin 4th.
Ray, he just keeps getting better.
He's a proper little pro. He's never gone bad. He's just amazing, really, for such a little fella.
Not much of him, but sitting in behind that It's All About Faith, that was the right spot to be.
Oh yes, he had the run of the race and he finished it off really well. Yeah, David was pretty happy with the way he got through that last 50.
All right, building into the Sire Stakes final now, a cup trial to give him a look round Addington.
Yeah, he's not been to Addington, so it would make sense to take him in for that. So that's what we'll be doing, I'm sure.
153.3. Geez, a little pony, Michael. It's incredible he's that fast, but a typical D Butcher drive. I know he had the draw and he sat in the trail, but he waited, went very late at It's All About Faith. I thought Krug was good in 3rd, proved that he's not unbeatable, but that wasn't his grand final either.
No, and he was driven that way. They knew they couldn't get the lead with him, so they drove him to have a nice run and try and win, but they probably realised a long way from home they couldn't. I think it comes down to barrier draws for the final. There's one horse who wasn't in that race who's going to be a factor. That's BD Joe, because he's a horse who tends to draw very well. oddly, and he's very quick off the gate. But nothing else I'd give a chance to in the race, Greg. Those top three plus BD Joe, who dominated the races in the North Island, clearly dominate this. When American Dealer's beaten Krug, and he's done it twice in their last 3 meetings, he's been on the marker pegs, Greg, and Krug's been wider. So you pick Krug on the marker pegs in the final, he might be $1.20 or $1.30. But American Dealer on the marker pegs and Krug outside him and not getting the lead completely changes the dynamic of the race. And that's where it's all about faith and BD Joe come into play, because they have so much gate speed. I think Krug will probably win it, Greg. I'm not sure I want to take the short odds to find out because it's so draw dependent. But American Dealer's the horse who crucially needs to be on the marker pegs, Greg. I just don't see him being able to come around these horses and beat them. So intriguing race. There's a few things in play. That barrier draw next Wednesday will have a massive determinant on the market.
Yeah, $1.80 out to $2.20 as we look at the Woodlands Sire Stakes final. American Dealer $4.80. It's all about faith $6. I do give Shan Noble a little bit of a chance. Again, he'll need the right barrier draw. Thought he was excellent in a lower grade race. His first standing start run, Beyond Words, was too strong for him, but yeah, I reckon it was an excellent run from him. And yeah, if he got the right sort of run and sat him behind them, just like he did when he beat Pace and Pride, who won the first race there on Monday, then he's got a sneaky hope. But yeah, the barrier draw is absolutely going to be the key there. I did talk to David Butcher about BD Joe. He said he's improved out of sight, and his record's suggesting that too. We're about to take a short break here on your Box C. Had an opportunity on Monday to go and have a look at a bit of the history around Mid-Canterbury in the T Kiosk, and I caught up with Ron Patterson to find out what that was all about. Well, Ron, looking around the walls of fame here, if you like, and the old kiosk here at Ashburton, gee, there's some history here.
Yes, it is. It's an amazing old building. It was built in 1914. It's probably one of the last of the tea kiosks, the genuine tea kiosks in New Zealand that I know of. In fact, I don't know of any others. Our Trotting Association took it over several years ago as far as looking after the old girl and trying to keep it right, because these old buildings take a lot of work, and it's quite expensive. So we just had it completely repaired and painted outside. When we took it over, we had a lot of the colours, as you'll see around the walls here, and they were just hanging loosely around the place. And Greg, you might have remembered a few years ago. Yep. So we decided that we would put them behind glass and frame them and keep them for posterity. And we've managed to get most of the local colours anyway. Some of them have not been used for 50 or 60 years, but we managed to drag them out of places. So it's just a thing that our club decides that we want to do to foster. We don't only foster current racing, but to look after what's gone before us, because if we forget about our history, I'm afraid we're lost.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and there is some amazing history here. Now, if anyone wants to come and have a look around, because it's not just the colours, all the old photos, a few old sulkies hanging from the roof as well, all race days, trial days, and basically any other time if they want to contact you, they can come along as well.
Yes, that's dead right, Greg. We're open every trial day, every race day. We can, if people wanted to come and have a look and they decided to do that, if they got a hold of the race secretary here on track, and Jeff will contact me and we can make a private arrangement for them to come and have a look around.
Yeah, well, you've done a magnificent job with it. It does look outstanding, and I'm fully supportive of the history, because without it, what was the sport all about?
Exactly. Yes, we're actually looking at the moment, two projects in hand at the moment. One is we're wanting to get copies of these photos onto some permanent arrangement, and also we're looking at producing a book on trotting in Mid-Canterbury the last 100 years, and very strong trotting areas Mid-Canterbury, and at this stage we're looking at getting a book made, printed for that. So that's what we're up to at the moment.
Well, to you and your committee, you've done an outstanding job. We look forward to a whole lot more people coming and experience the tea kiosk here at Ashburton, and look forward to Cup Week the Thursday. That would be an opportune time for people to come along, wouldn't it?
Yes, it certainly would. Yes.
Yeah.
We get Australians on that week, but usually on the Thursday quite a few Australians come down and they just gobsmacked that we've got this here. So and we're going to look after it.
We're in your home straight in your box seat. Big thank you to our stable of sponsors once again. Let's have a look at the Trainers Premiership, Michael, because it's a good battle at the moment. We won't have a look at it in terms of on screen, but I think Robert Dunn, the Premiership winner from last season, is only 3 in front of the All-Stars.
Look, and it's good you can bet on it. For years I was complaining about the fact you couldn't bet on the Trainers Premiership. Admittedly, it was tended to be dominated by the same people. But Robert won it last year, and he's got a great chance of winning it again. Probably the one thing I would say is this for punters who are considering betting into this. Robert usually has a large domestic team and not a big Australian team. The All-Stars usually take a whole bunch of horses to Australia. They have no interest in going to Australia anytime soon because of the quarantine and the travel restrictions, so they may have no horses at the Breeders' Crown. So, Greg, you might have 10 or 12 horses who might have made their way to Australia sticking around in New Zealand, and that might equate to 10, 12, 20 wins for the All-Stars. So I would say numerically they may have a better chance than they did this time last year because they're probably going to be concentrating domestically.
Blair Orange leads the Drivers' Premiership 43 ahead of John Dunn and Tim Williams. Good battle for second at the moment, around about 28 each. Michael, last week we farewelled a great man with the pen in Jeff Scott. We also recently lost Colin Butler, CJ Butler, who did a magnificent job as a trainer and driver. I think he drove about 600 winners and trained over 200. He was a big part of Northern Harness Racing and a fixture at Cambridge and Alexandria Park every time I went there anyway.
Yeah, really astute horseman. And he could be a curmudgeon, Colin. He could be one of those people who would get in your ear and tell you off for things you did wrong. But if something went wrong for you, he'd be one of the first people to ring you and say, is everything okay? And, you know, bugger them and all that sort of stuff. He was very supportive of a lot of the young horse people. He is probably his signature win. This is Charlemagne in his red and white colours, getting to the outside, and the 5-year-old Trot for the harness jewels. As Aaron White always tells us, he was a jewels winner. He's the horse who Colin kept hold of because he was part owned by his late wife, and Colin's headed off to join her now, and he'll leave a gap in particularly Waikato harness racing. There he is, because skilled horseman Gregory, but one of those people who was always there and helped a lot of people behind the scenes, as I mentioned, particularly some of the younger people in harness racing. So, yep, CJ, one of the legends of Waikato harness racing at a very, very proud time in their history because he comes from that era where there were so many good horsemen in the region. Yeah, and of course, Charlemagne won his jewel at Cambridge and paid $90. His previous Group 1 winner, Michael, was 1981 with Yvette Bromack. So, we while between drinks there. Was that the Great Northern Oaks? Yes, it was. Correct. I was 11, Gregory. Oh, nice work. I was 11. By the way, also to Nikki and the family of Jeff Scott, obviously big funeral for you guys on Saturday. And yep, Scotty may be at rest now, but he won't be forgotten. Either will Colin Butler, and I would like to see both clubs, Addington and Cambridge, name a race after those two wonderful harness racing men at some stage, so all their friends can get together and have a drink and have a celebration, because they both left in vastly different ways their impressions on our industry. Yes, they certainly did. Thursday, it's a twilight meeting, comes out of Invercargill. It's the delayed Diamond Day. We get a chance to have a look at the market for the 3 big races, and the first of those, Michael, is for the 3-year-olds. It's the Diamond Creek Farm Classic. Dashing Major draws the insides, come up the favourite here at $2.20. Regazzo Mark for Nathan Williamson at $3.10. Arden's Aces won a couple. Ricky May drives for Regan Todd, one of 2 in the race. For him, Yurakobi's $4.80 and Arden's Ace $9.50. Your thoughts around this one? I really like Dashing Major. I think Barrier 1's a huge help for him. I know he was disappointing second up at Addington, but he was massive first up. Maybe that took the edge off him for the second up run. Wouldn't be surprised if he was a little bit tired after that. I thought Greg, typical John Robert Dunn type horse, should lead from Barrier 1. It's going to take a really good horse to beat him. Not concerned by the fact he's a maiden, because he's raced in 2 very, very strong races. So when those colours are on the front end of the field, as they will be potentially in this race, but of course a few more times at Kaikoura on Monday, they're the sort of colours I want to be backing. 230's close enough to the mark, Greg, because Nathan Williamson's horse, Regazzo Mac, also looks a pretty good horse and was pretty impressive on debut.
Yeah, it certainly was. That's the first of 3 Group 3s we have on the day. Let's have a look at the Oaks, the Southland Oaks, and this is a deep, deep race, Michael. This one brought to you by Macca Lodge and Neverly R. Lulu Lemon from the inside, Plutonium Lady. Mark Jones said he was a little bit disappointed. 3rd of 3 in that stakes, the Neverly R final heat there at Addington. Stylish Memphis is our favourite here at $1.85. Watch Me Now, excellent at Addington when winning, and was pretty good from the stand last time. Need You Now, Pearl Harbour. Gee, there's some depth here.
Look, there is, but I think there's also a moral. I think Stylish Memphis will just turn up and win. And that's not being disrespectful to Need You Now, who's a really good horse, and it took Amazing Dream to beat her last start. But Stylish Memphis raced at an open class race last start. Mark Jones has set her for this. She's drawn inside the other horse. If Need You Now's drawn inside her, Gregory, I'm of a different opinion, but Stylish Memphis will just win this.
Right.
I think $1.85 is actually really fair. I think she might start $1.50.
Yeah, and I spoke to Mark Jones. He said I couldn't be happier with her. She's had those 2 runs now. She should be able to get the lead, and that makes her the horse to beat. Let's have a look at the Alabar Southern Supremacy. That's the 38th running, by the way, of the Southland Oaks. But the Supremacy's been a great race over the years as well, Michael. Favouritism here. Spirit of St. Louis, $2.80. Second favourite behind Pembroke Playboy. This is the 37th running of this one. I gave Burnham Boy some sort of chance. I know that he's been slightly disappointing, I suppose, at times. He went down a short margin last time, and if he could find the front, he's a pretty good stayer.
Look, I'm not saying he's not, and I think he's going to end up close enough to open class, but these other 2 horses are already almost open class. I'm really surprised that Spirit of St. Louis, even though he has had a few little things go wrong recently, isn't favourite for this race. He's a really good horse. He's drawn significantly better than the favourite. I think this market's wrong. I'm not saying that'll turn out that way. I think they're both probably comparable to equal winning chances, but you're getting a lot more price for one than the other. So I think the favourite's a pretty good horse, but Spirit of St. Louis semi-open class proven and has a significant barrier draw advantage, Greg. So look, I'm going to be backing the horses who I think are going to lead or be close to the speed in all 3 of these races. And well done to the people down there in the Deep South for getting these races off the ground, Greg. It would have been really easy to can them, to say let's not run them this year because of COVID, like lots of other people have done with lots of other things. But they've hung together, and yeah, well done to them for doing it. It makes for a really interesting Thursday late afternoon into the evening.
Yep, it certainly does, Michael. As we'll just have a quick word on Group 1 racing in Australia with Garrard's, the Queen of the Pacific, sees our Princess Tiffany and have time. Our Princess Tiffany will have to come off the second row, though. Do you give her a good winning chance?
It's going to be tempo dependent, a lot of speed on the front line here. Very good horse on the front line, barrier 2, we haven't seen much of from this part of the world for us, is Better in Force. Comes out of Menangle, big, rolling, hard-running type horse. Brian Gath takes the reins on that because Luke McCarthy, who was an absolute superstar last week on Breeders' Challenge, not at Menangle, he can't head south because of the travel restrictions. So Better in Force, if she jumps to lead, is going to be incredibly hard to catch. But if there's too many horses trying to get to that same spot, Greg, and they burn up, then Princess Tiffany might come over top of them because these Australian mares don't race over the 27.60 very often. So it's all new to them, whereas Princess Tiffany's a bit more used to it. But if Better in Force leads and brings her Menangle form, she'll be really, really hard to beat, Greg. So she's the horse I tip on top. But if they go hard the first lap, it's going to seem a long way home for some of these Australian mares. This is something they do once or twice a year at most.
Yeah, look forward to that one on Saturday night. Also look forward to the Showday punters competition, the challenge, of course, with the box seat going head-to-head against Michael and I. We've got $600 to spend, and we will be trying to raise some money for the Myer Foundation. It's always a good day on the punt, and as we know now, Michael, Cup Day is sold out. Showday with no show in Christchurch means it's a great opportunity for you to take your family out there. We've got the National Gumboot Throwing competition on and a whole lot of rides, free rides for the kids. It's a gold coin donation to get in on Showday, but you need 600 and up to 4 mates to take us on in the challenge.
Just to go back to Cup Day, just to clarify this for some people watching this show who think, oh, I'd like to go to Cup Day. So it's totally sold out. So there's no way you can buy hospitality or any other trick to the trade, Greg. If you don't have a ticket for Cup Day now, you're not going. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. The public tickets, no ticket sales on the gate. We had reduced numbers, obviously, with what's been going on. So therefore, the tickets have been on sale for a while. We did warn you on the show at least 2 or 3 weeks ago that they could be sold out, and that is the case now. So, yep. I think there might be one table left in hospitality, Michael, if you want to ring Joe McMaster at Addington. But in terms of the public ticket sales, they are Gonski. So a big day ahead on IRT New Zealand Cup Day. What about from the bookies over the last week? Where were the big winners? Where were the losers? Lady Matara, 2,000 at 290. You could have got 480. More about that in a moment. Lady Be Good, 420, 1,300 there. Mr. Fantastic, we heard from Stephen Reid what he thinks of him. Someone had a good bet on Copy That, and there were a few that went a begging there, including Delightful Dude, 9,000 at $1.70. He got beaten in race 3, as did Krug in the last of those heats. What's ahead this week? That was the Woodland Stakes heat, of course. Busy weekend of harness racing. Kick things off on Thursday, of course, where we do go to the Diamond Day down there. 10 races, 2:48 the start time there, so a twilight meeting, and those 3 Group 3 races are well and truly worth tuning in for. Methven, I think they actually ended up with 10 races, 2:59, again a twilight meeting there on Friday night, which marries up with the Alexandria Park meeting there. 9 minutes past 6 the start time, $120,000 Magnus Benrose Sire Stakes Fillies Championship. Should be a cracking contest on mile night there. Kaikoura, the first of their 2 days. They got the 6 races, 2:47 the start time there on Sunday. Of course, Sunday night they have their big Calcutta. That'll be a function well worthy of being at. And then we have the big day on Monday, the Sales Series Age Classic, the Alabar Kaikoura Cup and the South Bay Trotters Cup too. Michael, this is an outstanding venue, the South Bay Racecourse, and it's always worth tuning in for, and it's always marvelled by harness racing fans around the world.
It is. That many people ask me, Gregory, what's that Kaikoura like? And they tend to stuff the name up a few times. All the Australians, they absolutely love it because there's nothing else like it in the world. I reckon the Duns will dominate there this time next week. I don't think we'll see too much movement in the New Zealand Cup market, Gregory, because I think most of the parts of the table are set apart from the draws for the big races. Just talking about barrier draws, Greg, I don't often tip horses from the outside of the front line in mile races at Alexandria Park. I think it's a pretty quick way to get to the poorhouse, but our bets of the week this week, and well done. You got your one home last week. I think you tipped it at 4.8. Lady Batara paid $2.80 or $3, I think it was, Gregory. I think Star Gallery is just about a good thing this week at Alexandria Park. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see the race. He's got 25 rating points on the others. I'm more than happy with Alexandria Park to let these good horses race against inferior horses, because as long as they have the worst barrier draw, there's not much else you can do. You can't just keep scrubbing the best horses out of races, Gregory, but he should just turn up at 1 this week.
All right, you missed out last week. Christians have time finishing in second, but I think you can bounce back there. Yep, we got one last week at nice value, and I think Bad to the Bone is extremely hard to beat. I really think he can win that aged pace. I know it's a hard race, but if he's able to find his way somewhere near the lead, then I think he'll give you a great sight there at Kaikoura. So really looking forward to that. Michael, we've got next Wednesday's show, which won't include the Cup trial, but the following Monday we will be on air here, TRB Trackside 1, 9 p.m, a full preview of the big day, IRT New Zealand Cup Day, including the 4 Group 1s and the Group 3 Junior Free-for-All. Really looking forward to that, and we'll have plenty of information for the punters to help them the following day.
Yep, it's going to be a huge time, Cup time. A smaller crowd this year, like everybody in racing. We're having to adapt to different things, but that preview show has been a staple of New Zealand Cup Day now for probably 20 odd years. We're lucky to be able to bring that to you with all our stable of sponsors, Greg. It's great to have them backing us to get you all the information you need for Cup time. So, yep, we're getting close now.
All right, that's been your box seat for another week. Massive week ahead. Look forward to seeing you in 7 days' time.